Hello, and welcome to this keynote session, forming part of the 11th Analysys Mason Telecoms Summit. My name is David McElroy, and I work as part of Analysys Mason's online events team. Now, you may have already watched some other sessions leading up to this one. However, I just wanted to remind you of a few points that will make sure that you get the most out of this and all of our other summit presentations. Firstly, please remember that you can access all sessions and they're available on demand, and that means that you can watch them at an order, at a time, and at a date that suits you. As well as this keynote session, we also have a selection of other keynote breakout sessions for you to choose from, and we also have a panel session on 5G. Once you have entered your chosen session, you also have the ability to access some useful resources. You can connect with our presenters on social media, and as these are on-demand sessions, our presenters will pick up any questions that you ask in the coming days via email. So please feel free to submit questions using the Q&A widget, which at the moment is on the left-hand side of your screen, and our presenters will get back to you in the coming days via email. Now, once this session has ended, you'll be redirected to the event homepage where you can simply select another session and go from there. Now, on that note, I'll introduce our presenter for this session, and that is Research Director Stephen Sale. So, Stephen, I'll pass over to you whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you very much, David. Yes, I'm here to talk to you about 5G business models in the consumer segment. Telecoms operators are building out 5G networks with the support of their vendors. These investments in 5G are usually justified in terms of a requirement to offer a range of innovative services, typically a mixture of enterprise and consumer opportunities. We often find that when pushed on the business cases for these investments, things often get a bit vague and arm-wavy. There's a need to manage the costs of increasing volumes of data traffic, but many of the revenue arguments involve new and often untested business models. One solution offered to mitigate this uncertainty is to move to a platform model of some kind. There's been a lot of focus on enterprise opportunities recently, particularly around private networks and the cloud edge. In this session, I'm going to look at the consumer side of the equation. I'm going to start with a brief look at the current state of 5G mobile and what kind of results we're seeing. It's very much a story of continuity with efforts focused on upselling to higher value plans. Then I'll move on to look at some of the longer term opportunities in 5G, as operators potentially look to act as enablers for a range of new online experiences. Many of these opportunities in the consumer segment are more B2B2C. I'll then look at some of the different roles that operators can take in the consumer value chain, including a brief look at platform propositions. So operators have generally been following a more for more strategy on 5G. The aim is to encourage customers to take a higher value package as they migrate from 4G to 5G. 5G packages are often built around very large data allowances. Hundreds of gigabytes are common in many markets. 5G has also allowed operators to be more confident in offering unlimited data packages. And sometimes these have been supported by speed tiering. Many operators have bundled content packages with 5G plans, often to showcase and make use of the improved network performance. In terms of results, it's still relatively early days. Commercial services have been available for a year or two typically, and penetration is still fairly low. In South Korea, we're up to around a quarter of mobile subscribers, but 5 or 10% is more common. 5G customers at this stage are very much early adopters and typically already at the high end of ARPUs. However, there are a few data points on the right showing ARPU uplift for customers as they move from 4G to 5G. The same customers, as they move to 5G, are typically spending 10 to 20% more. With relatively low numbers at the moment, it's hard to see much of an impact on overall revenue, particularly when we throw COVID into the mix. Nevertheless, there are some positive signs. The South Korean operators appear to have turned the corner after a sustained period of ARPU decline. The decline has halted, and there are some signs of revenue growth. There's a similar story in Taiwan, where Taiwan Mobile attributed its first quarter of year-on-year mobile service revenue growth for nearly 5 years to 5G. The central premise for the success of 5G is increasing demand for services that require higher performance connectivity, whether these services are provided by the operators themselves or not. We tried to gauge this demand, among many other things, in our Connected Consumer Survey. And here's a preview of some of the results from the 2021 survey. We asked respondents how interested they are in various 5G-enabled services and asked them if they would be prepared to pay extra for those services. The dark blue represents people that said, yes, I'm interested and I'd pay extra. The mid blue are people that are interested but say they wouldn't pay extra. And then yellow represents no interest. You can see that there is a proportion of customers that would pay extra. There are higher numbers for simple connectivity attributes, such as faster download speeds. And there are lower numbers for new gaming experiences and AR/VR services. There's also a large rump of users that express an interest in various services but are currently unwilling to spend extra. These customers still value experiences and may well be interested in bundles supporting these services, or they may be less likely to churn if they're able to access those services. They might also pay extra in the future as services gain maturity. As 5G moves beyond the early adopters to more of a mass market position, the ability of operators to maintain ARPU uplifts will depend on the stimulation of more demand to convert the curious into paying customers of either larger bundles, improved performance, or new service experiences. Some other results from the survey are instructive here. The number one reason given by people planning to upgrade to 5G in the next year was to get faster speeds, with 80% of respondents selecting that option. Around 10% wanted to gain access to advanced services. For respondents that don't currently plan to upgrade to 5G, the number one reason given was that 4G is sufficient for their needs. And in second place was, I don't know what the benefits of 5G are. Many operators are trying to develop entertainment propositions to support their 5G services. The main areas of development are rich media, AR/VR, and game streaming or cloud gaming. Rich media services offer an enhanced video experience with features such as multiple simultaneous streams, a choice of views, integration of additional content such as game or player statistics. They sometimes offer a social experience too. Sports content is a really good fit here, with examples including SK Telecom's 5GX baseball service. AR/VR is a major feature of many Asian operators' 5G offers in particular. It usually consists of short-form VR content or AR applications, allowing users to have interactive experiences. There are services based around K-pop stars and exercise classes, for example. Services are generally bundled for free with 5G plans, but some operators plan to charge extra for them in the future. Game streaming or cloud gaming services are more common, with many operators bundling some kind of gaming service with 5G. This is not just an Asian phenomenon, it's very much a worldwide trend. Sometimes the services are telco branded, sometimes the operator is a reseller or aggregator of third-party services. I'm going to dig into cloud gaming a little bit more deeply now, just because it can help illustrate some of the options available to telecoms operators, and we'll come back to this in a broader context later. But cloud gaming is interesting because it's heavily reliant on connectivity to support the user experience, thus giving network operators a role in the success of services. Also, the ecosystem is at a relatively early stage, with various players coming together to target the opportunity, including publishers, gaming platforms, hardware suppliers, and cloud providers. There are several roles that operators can perform. The most basic is providing connectivity to end users. Operators can target premium connectivity offers, whether fiber or 5G, to gamers. There's potential to offer some additional value in terms of QoS guarantees and so on. Operators can also act as a route to market for gaming services. Some operators have developed their own branded services, often in partnership with white label platforms that work directly with the gaming publishers. A few operators have partnered with major platforms with premium offerings. One example is NVIDIA's GeForce Now, which allows cloud access to titles that customers have already purchased on popular game stores such as Steam and Game Plus. NVIDIA has partnerships with several operators around the world to support this service. Another example is Microsoft's Xbox Cloud, that has partnerships with SK Telecom and Telia, among others. Many of these partnerships go beyond simple routes to market, with operators acting as service enablers. SKT is collaborating with Microsoft to deploy its cloud-based services. Operators in the NVIDIA Alliance host NVIDIA servers in their edge clouds to bring the service closer to customers. Telekom Deutschland has developed its own cloud gaming service based on its own edge computing infrastructure. A few operators have got involved in service creation and the broader ecosystem. Now, this is relatively rare given the maturity of the gaming industry. One example is a joint venture between Singtel, AIS and SK Telecom to leverage regional gaming and esports content in Asia. These examples show that operators can play a range of roles in bringing new services to market. Now, I'm going to start looking a bit more to the future next, and to think a little bit about how device trends will affect our 5G story. Firstly, let's think about smartphones. We often hear about how smartphone market is characterized by incremental change, but these increments do add up. CPUs and GPUs are improving. Smartphones incorporate a range of sensors now, including face tracking, that mean that we're now able to scan the environment and support interactions between virtual and physical worlds. These kinds of capabilities are supporting many of the AR and VR experiences that I mentioned earlier. Gaming experiences have historically been shaped by the requirement to have large amounts of processing power close to the end user in the form of gaming consoles and PCs. This is starting to change with cloud computing and edge deployments. High-performance gaming experiences are becoming more portable, device costs are lowering, and improved networking enables more interaction within the gameplay. Gaming developers will make use of all these evolving conditions. VR headsets and smart glasses are coming slowly. It's now a question of when rather than if. Performance is improving and prices are falling. Apple, always a market leader, bellwether, is widely expected to launch a mixed reality headset next year, with AR glasses following sometime afterwards. As well as if and when, there's also a question of how much. That is, how big a phenomenon will they become, and how much of life will be seen through a lens, whether it be an AR-enabled smartphone or smart glasses. One of the tech buzzwords of 2021 has been metaverse. The metaverse is one vision of the future internet, comprising a persistent shared 3D space where people interact via avatars, conduct a range of activities, including entertainment, shopping, and work. Mark Zuckerberg has said that the future of Facebook is as a metaverse company. He wants to extend the social network platform into a more virtual environment while continuing to add more services and revenue streams. The metaverse might sound far-fetched to many, but to generations immersed in social media and gaming platforms such as Minecraft and Roblox, it is not such a big leap. These offer worlds within worlds and increasingly immersive experiences too. You can now buy virtual property, virtual clothes, and attend virtual concerts online. Before we get too carried away with this, I will point out that there are a legion of social and regulatory issues to be resolved. The metaverse will probably not come to transpire in the way that Zuckerberg imagines. However, I think we can say a few things. Social and gaming environments will support a range of other activities. There will be more live interactions online, potentially mediated by some kind of avatar. And experiences will be supported by a growing range of devices beyond the smartphone. This is all good for our 5G story. There will be demand for high-performance connectivity and potential for connecting multiple devices. Low latency will become more important to more people, not just gamers complaining about a laggy server. In terms of potential roles for operators, few telecoms operators will be leading the efforts here. They'll be reliant on the likes of Facebook and Epic Games to create the consumer platforms of the future. SK Telecom, with its recent launch of IFLand, its own metaverse, is very much the exception. Operators will mainly be behind the scenes here as connectivity providers of some form or other. Aside from the metaverse and the large consumer platforms, there are other potential areas of opportunity for operators to explore in 5G. These opportunities derive from the trend of moving existing physical interactions and experiences online. Examples include live music, which is increasingly available as a virtual experience to expand its audience. COVID, of course, is accelerating this trend. Many festivals in the future will be planned as hybrid events. Commerce is another area of activity that is moving relentlessly online. I've mentioned it in the context of internet platform experiences, but we're also seeing virtual shopping malls and augmented experiences within physical shopping malls. Other areas of activity include tourism, healthcare, education, with huge efforts underway to support remote and virtual experiences. All of these examples represent a shift in focus from B2C to B2B2C, with service providers potentially acting as enablers in support of more digital experiences. The business models involved here are new to most telecoms operators. Even operators with strong B2B plays will need to think carefully how to address these opportunities. Different verticals will have very different needs. Telco sales teams will have to adjust to selling a different kind of proposition to a traditional connectivity offer. A good place to start in exploring some of these B2B2C opportunities is to think of key consumer locations and to build strategies to serve these. Much of the current momentum in enterprise 5G is serving critical locations, often with private network propositions. Operators and their partners are building smart factories and ports. Customers' needs can be met within a managed environment. If we think to the consumer market, there are a few analogues to the port and to the smart factory. Consumer locations such as shopping malls, sports stadia, festival locations, hotels and tourist attractions all represent opportunities for a richer service experience. I'll give you an example. A visitor to a football match can pre-book a parking place, engage in pre-match social activity, order food and drinks for half-time. They can watch in-match replays of critical runs of play and select different viewpoints. They can look at player stats on completed passes and distance covered. They can buy merchandise, all on their smartphone. The venue owners, the landlords of the stadium, the sponsors, the content rights holders, the football clubs, the broadcasters, will all be interested in gaining additional value here. On this slide, I've got a couple of examples of telecoms operators that have taken a leading role in enabling some of these kinds of services. On the left, we have an example involving Hong Kong Telecom and its mobile brand CSL. HKT has worked with commercial landlords and a neutral host provider, which is TGT, to 5G enable many of Hong Kong's shopping malls. HKT's brand, CSL, has developed an AR service that allows shoppers to have an augmented shopping experience in their stores. The aim is to improve footfall for the retailers by developing an attractive shopping experience and to improve sales value. And the interesting area here is that CSL is working directly with the retail brands. It has a list of fashion, food and beverage, a whole range of different categories. It works directly with those brands to help support this kind of experience. And it also brings a partner, Gusto XR Labs, to support on the content offering. Another example on the right. O2 in the UK has taken a leading role in 5G enabling venues. It's used its O2 Arena as a test bed for 5G, supporting a VIP experience to O2 customers visiting the site for events. It has partnered with Melody VR to bring VR concerts to O2 customers alongside its 5G service plans. And more generally, O2 UK is working with a wide range of partners to develop a range of in-stadium fan experiences through the Project Vista. Now, when we think about 5G innovation and new business models, we often think of network slicing. Many operators around the world are launching standalone 5G core networks with a view to offering network slicing in the future. The use cases are predominantly enterprise use cases based on vertical sectors such as manufacturing or automotive. However, a few operators have demonstrated the potential for consumer slices directly to the smartphone. The status of consumer network slicing is, however, unclear at the moment. None of the operators or vendors that we've spoken to about this recently have raised it as anything more than a possibility. It's not being it's not being included in technical specifications for the networks at this stage. And there are a few reasons for this. There's lack of clarity around the business model. So it's possible to get a network slice directly to a smartphone. But how is this going to be sold? What kind of proposition is there for the customer? Would the operator charge a customer directly? So is there potentially a speed boost kind of proposition to the customer? Or would there be more of a kind of a managed ongoing premium service, potentially going across both fixed and mobile networks? These are possibilities, and there is some thinking going along those lines. Or might there be a service bundle where some kind of slicing is supporting, for example, a cloud gaming service? You could have a standard cloud gaming service for, say, $15 per month, and then a premium cloud gaming service with a kind of guaranteed better user experience for, say, $20 per month. Or potentially the network slice is presented as part of an assembled solution to the consumer, and the end user isn't really aware of it. It could be packaged up to support, for instance, the Facebook metaverse. It could be packaged up to support a Microsoft gaming proposition based on a subscription and a range of different devices. It could be packaged up to support an Apple ecosystem. And here we're potentially getting more into a kind of an MVNO model. So I mentioned that there are a few reasons for this having not moved very far forward so far, and different business models is one. Another is that there's a question mark over whether the standard 5G performance will suffice, and whether there is indeed a requirement for the capabilities offered within the slice. And then finally, another potential problem overhanging this whole area is net neutrality. The very concept of slicing can fly in the face of net neutrality, and this could really be a showstopper in some markets. There's still a lot of work to be done to overcome that challenge. Whether slicing is used or not, some of these examples return us to the question of the value chain and where operators will play. So when we looked at cloud gaming earlier, we saw that there are potential different roles that operators can play. We also skirted through some B2B2C examples that suggested there is potential roles for enablement, certainly working with ecosystems and partners to make experiences happen. Now, I think it's important that when we kind of broaden this out to a broader consumer 5G play, there are a number of different options, but operators have to have a think about what options make sense for them given their capabilities and their strengths. Operators need to be able to add value to the partners that they'll be working with. Adding value could be in the shape of market capabilities. An operator may have a very strong brand in a particular country. They could have high market share. They could have particular strength among a desirable, appealing customer segment. They might have particular capabilities that they can bring to the arrangement. They might have a strong commerce platform that can help enable some of the stadium experiences that I mentioned earlier. They could have a video or entertainment platform that they can use. There's a whole range of different capabilities that they can potentially bring here. When we're looking at B2B2C expertise, I mentioned earlier that there's possible overlap with some of the B2B strengths. Many operators have vertical expertise. Many operators will have sales teams that are better prepared to work with these different partners to address these different kinds of opportunities. And then lastly, there are potential strengths and capabilities around the ecosystem. In some markets, operators have taken a leading role in building ecosystems around innovation. There might be a particularly strong national tech industry that operators are very much engaged in, for instance. And I think it's very much it's very important that operators think about these different aspects to help them decide what is the best role for them. Some of the roles are service platform. So this is generally a case of providing first-party services as a digital lifestyle provider. As an awful lot of operators in Asia in particular are heavily focused on helping consumers to move to a strong digital lifestyle, with the telco as the kind of the leading partner in that, building an ecosystem to support it. A second role is service aggregator. This is also very much focused around the customer, but in this case, more of a conduit to third-party services. And here, the operators have to focus on providing a good wrap for that service experience, a good good customer support, a good user experience. And this is also about being easy to do business with and being able to form partnerships and to be easy to work with. There's also possibilities to act as an enablement platform, particularly around the B2B2C stuff that I was talking about earlier. This is playing a leading role in supporting other companies to bring their services to market. This will often suit operators who already have strong B2B experience or SI capabilities. Then there's potential role as an enhanced connectivity provider. It's focusing on the wholesale opportunities for partnerships with platforms. I mentioned MVNO earlier, that there is some kind of opportunity to act as a kind of connectivity plus provider to support some of the visions that I've outlined today. This could be as infrastructure as a service or network as a service. There's potential to offer orchestration with SDN, potential to add a security layer to a connectivity offering. And then lastly, there's a plain simple connectivity provider. This is business as usual, operators not opting to explore the new revenue opportunities or business models, focusing more on offering a simple retail portfolio to the customers, very much focused on cost and efficiency. So all of these are options. Operators will typically do one or more of these. They're not mutually exclusive. Now, I think I'm just going to finish by mentioning the example of SK Telecom. And I've mentioned SKT a few times already, partly because they do pretty much everything. SKT are active throughout the range of roles here. Now, if we think about SKT, there are reasons for SKT being able to do this. For a start, they have a really strong market position. They are a market leader in an advanced country, advanced marketplace. They have 45% share in mobile. They also have a range of capabilities that really allow them to bring something extra to the table when working with partners. They have commerce and payments experience. They have a strong video platform. They even own the map. There's no Google Maps in South Korea. It's the SKT T-Map. They also have B2B2C expertise. They've been working with various B2B verticals for a long time. They have SK Planet helping take some of the commerce capabilities to market already. Their sales teams will know how to address some of the opportunities that I've mentioned before. And also, they've, for a long time, played a very advanced role in the ecosystem. Often in many Asian markets, there isn't much of an innovation ecosystem aside from the telcos. The telcos have been able to take a relatively strong position that, for example, some operators in Europe haven't been able to. So I'm just mentioning here SKT to help think through other operators' circumstances. So SKT shows what can be done, but there are lots of reasons that SKT are able to do those. So operators have to take an honest look at themselves, think about where their capabilities are, where they can add value within various roles. So with that, I'm going to conclude with a few recommendations. Firstly, I'd like to say that within the broader 5G business case and investment question, operators shouldn't neglect that longer-term consumer aspect. B2C and the consumer segment generally will continue to account for the majority of revenue. There may be many enterprise opportunities, but we have to think about the phasing here. I don't think enterprise revenue is going to be accounting for the majority of telecoms revenue for most operators anytime soon. The second recommendation is to explore some of the B2B2C opportunities. I think that there are some really interesting areas here that, as we look at different sectors that are becoming more and more digital. There are more and more experiences that are becoming more and more digital. Telcos and 5G can play a role in supporting that. But telecoms operators that are interested in doing this have to think about their capabilities, about what they would need, what kind of partnership and ecosystem play would they need to do to help support that. And then, I guess, building on that, I've mentioned quite a few different things that telcos could potentially do during the course of this presentation. Many of these areas are still forming, and there's certainly interesting developments to come around a kind of a connectivity plus and some kind of platform enablement, whether it be a kind of a network as a service, infrastructure as a service, the MEC kind of world, or more ambitiously in the service platform kind of area. Regardless, operators have to take a realistic view of their strengths and their capabilities. Some operators will be able to do everything. There will be one or two SKTs, but for most operators, it's going to be a harder set of decisions to be made. They'll have to take an honest look at themselves and try to plan for the right future for them. So with that, I'll hand back to David. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much for that informative presentation. And thank you to everyone who has attended. Now, before you go, I'll just remind you of a couple of points. You can access the useful resources. You can still submit a question to which Stephen will reply to you in the next coming days by email. And of course, please feel free to connect with Stephen on social media as well, particularly LinkedIn. So lastly, please allow me to thank you once again for attending. I hope you enjoyed this keynote session, and we look forward to welcoming you to another one of our summit presentations very shortly. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.